Good morning and happy National Signing Day to you. I'm Alex Heinert coming to you live from our MidcoSN studios in Grand Forks, North Dakota, or as it's been for the fourth year in a row, Signing Day headquarters for UND football. Over the next hour, we will be bringing you full coverage of North Dakota's first set of signees in the class of 2020, including highlights, analysis, conversations with the coaches and the regional high school football experts about this recruiting class and how they project into the current Fighting Hawks roster. Now, speaking of Signing Day headquarters, let's look in live at our MidcoSN conference room. UND head coach Bubba Schweigert and his staff have been based here since the early morning hours, getting texts and emails from an excited group of future Fighting Hawks that have signed their national letters of intent to join the program. Going to be hearing a lot from that crew coming up over the next 60 minutes. Before we tell you, though, about the 2020 class, let's take a look back at what transpired this past football season for UND. A pretty impressive run for North Dakota that started way back at the end of August against Drake. Not without adversity. Nate Kitteringham went down in that contest. Andrew Zimmerman came in, led the team to a 47-7 win over the Bulldogs. Good defensive effort in that contest as well, holding Drake to 129 yards in total offense. Good start to the campaign at home, the first of 6 home wins this year. The following week, tough one against number 1 North Dakota State. First time these two teams had met since 2015. Big day for Trey Lance, 4 total touchdowns for the National Jerry Rice Award winner, 38-7 the final against the Bison, the team that UND will be seeing now on a yearly basis as they transition to the Valley. The following week, number 24 Sam Houston State came to town. Great football game between two good teams. UND went up early. No more adversity. Andrew Zimmerman got hurt in this contest. Tommy Schuster, the true freshman, came in, threw for a touchdown. Big defensive stop late gave UND a big win against the ranked team, 2-1 in non-conference. After a bye week, a tough one on a snowy day in Cheney, 6 turnovers, making it difficult for UND to get a victory against the reigning national runners-up. But the following week, back home against number 12 UC Davis, a clutch 46-yard field goal with under a minute left by Brady Leach, securing a 38-36 win for North Dakota. Big momentum shift and a big statement win for UND in that contest. Just when it looked like things were going to get rolling, a road trip to Pocatello that was difficult to say the least. A blizzard forcing UND to fly out of Bemidji the day before after taking a 7-0 lead, 34 unanswered by the Bengals. The less we talk about that one, the better. We'll move on to the next week. A big road win out in Cal Poly, highlighted by this. Final 5 minutes of the game, an impressive 4th down play. Alex Floyd rolling in from 39 yards out, giving North Dakota the 30-26 win over Cal Poly. And that started a bit of a streak. The following week, hosting number 9 Montana State, another tight game, and another big play by Alex Floyd down the stretch. This blocked punt, giving North Dakota the 16-12 victory in a defensive battle against the Bobcat team that is playing in the FCS semifinals this coming weekend. The next week, another big road trip against a ranked opponent, number 3 Weber State. UND led this game, if you remember, 27-20 late in the 4th quarter. A couple of things went against the Fighting Hawks down the stretch. Weber kicks a field goal with under a minute left to earn the 30-27 win. Again, Weber State, a team that is in the semifinals here coming up this weekend. Back home, though, UND kept things rolling. A couple of big wins to finish out the regular season to punch their spot into the playoffs. Cam McKinney, his first 100-yard game in a UND uniform, lifting North Dakota in a track meet over Northern Colorado. And then on senior day, with the playoffs on the line, a couple of touchdowns and 100 yards rushing for freshman Luke Skopna, lifting UND to a 36-18 win. That put them at 7-4 on the season, enough to earn their second FCS playoff appearance in the last 4 years. Big win for this program. They were able to go down on the road, again ranked in the top 25. Took on a Nichols State team, one of the best teams in the Southland. This was a 1-score football game late in this contest. Nichols, though, able to do just enough in the second half, 14 unanswered, lifting the Colonels to a 24-6 victory and ending North Dakota's season with a 7-5 mark. But still, that FCS appearance, as you mentioned, the program's second in the past 4 seasons. Those postseason berths, along with the Big Sky title in 2016, a big part of the legacy that the program's 17 seniors will leave behind. It's a group filled with longtime starters that have been a part of the fabric of UND football since the early days, headlined by All-American middle linebacker Donnell Rogers. The defensive captain finished top 10 in the FCS with 126 total tackles this past season, a new UND D1 record. And there's fellow captain and All-American Mason Bennett. He'll be missed next year as well. The senior from Winnipeg graduates as the UND D1 era record holder for most career sacks and most sacks in a single season. Fellow defensive starter Jade Lawrence also moving on, as our fellow linebackers Tyron Freda, Andre Steiger, all of whom played big parts in the Fighting Hawks defense this year and in recent seasons. Offensively, the quarterback room is going to look very different next season with the graduation of two-year starter Nate Ketteringham and former team captain Andrew Zimmerman. Nate finishes, by the way, his time in Grand Forks a 13-8 record and 21 career starts, over 4,000 yards passing for the young man from San Diego. Nate's main targets also graduating as well, including Noah Wanzik, a North Dakota kid who finishes 2019 with 996 yards receiving, breaking Kenny Galladay's D1 era record for most receptions in a season, as well as Travis Toivonen, fellow four-year starter who tied for the team lead in touchdowns this campaign with fellow senior running back James Johannesson, the Fargo Freight Train, who led the team in rushing in 2019. Up front, center Patrick Rooney, the lone offensive lineman to graduate, though his 32 career starts will not be easy to replace, just like the overall production of tight end and special teams ace Alex Cloyd, who finishes his UND career with a couple of receiving touchdowns as a senior and 2 game-winning punt blocks from this past season. In total, UND tasked with replacing those 17 seniors from this past year's squad. We caught up with a few members of that senior class and with their head coach recently for the season finale of our web series Day by Day. Here now their thoughts on their time in Grand Forks.
Oh, I love those guys. You know, there's so many of them have put their heart and soul into this program, whether they were here 5 years, 4 years. This is such a special experience to see those guys give up so much and sacrifice so much for a program. So you remember them, and they're always a part of us and will be a part of us forever and ever.
When you first get here, everybody tells you how fast everything goes, and you know, you're an 18-year-old, you don't really believe them.
You come in here as freshmen, you just don't know what's going on, and then in the blink of an eye, it's all done. It's just crazy how fast it goes.
It's gone by so fast, it's hard to explain, honestly.
Every step you take in your life from high school is like, oh, it goes by so fast, and then you get to college, you're like, oh, you know, I got 4 or 5 years, and then you wake up one morning and start to get over. It's crazy.
Good job, baby. Proud of you, man. Proud of you. One more.
Obviously, you know, hanging out with the guys every day is, you know, something that's unforgettable.
Just being around the guys, and I mean, just the teammates I got, and you know, the guys that have guys like Donnell and Mason and Pat and all those guys, Andre Steiger, Austin Gordon. Guys that have been here for 5 years and just really worked their tails off to get to this point.
I think I'll miss just being with all the guys. You know, we're together so many hours in a day, and everyone lives with each other, so it just like extends past football, and those relationships will last forever.
Game day, teammates, practice, you know, one-on-ones, everything. There's nothing I won't miss.
Came in as a Canadian kid who didn't know much about American football, and you know, quickly realized how big of an atmosphere they have and how big the culture is here. So yeah, just thank you for letting me come in and play in the game that I love.
To my parents, my family members, and all the fans, I just want to say thank you guys. You know, it means the world for all the support that you provided for myself and my teammates.
My family, my parents, they're the best. Thank them, my grandparents, siblings, just everybody that ever helped me get to where I'm at is just can't thank them enough, to be honest.
All I can give you is a thank you. I just appreciate everybody who supported me along the way. You know, just everybody who believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. So that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thanks to UND, thanks to all the coaches and my teammates. It's been an amazing 4 years. I'm sad to see it go, but very happy that it happened.
It's a great group of guys that will be missed around this program. If you, by the way, missed that episode of Day by Day or any of this past season's 16 episodes, you can check out the whole library on MidcoSN's YouTube channel. With that group of seniors moving on, there were areas on both sides of the ball that Bubba Schweigert and his staff needed to address with this recruiting class, specifically in the backfield and some of the skill spots as well as at linebacker. So look at the positions in need. We talked about the quarterback room changing with Ketteringham and Zimmerman moving on, graduating a couple of outstanding receivers that have been so good for this program in Wanzik and Toivonen. And then defensively, you know, 4 linebackers that made a big difference really since they stepped foot on campus in Rogers, Freda, Lawrence, Steiger. Figuring out how to cover up some of those cracks, of course, have been done the last couple of years with recruiting, but certainly it starts this year as well. And when you look at the positions of need, a lot of those areas were addressed in this class of 2020. Starting in the backfield, and North Dakota made an emphasis to bring in a quarterback this year, and they were able to do that. Reed Neal from Yorktown, Indiana, committing today. Might not be the only quarterback in this class. Maybe a little more on that after the signing day special wraps up, but big get for UND to have Reed coming in. A couple of running backs joining the group as well. Isaiah Smith out of the Twin Cities area, and Creighton Mitchell, who had a lot of offers from in-state in Iowa. making the decision to come up to Grand Forks. A lot of talent joining the backfield with Neal, Smith, and Mitchell. Also on the edges as well, you saw two receivers graduate. Let's bring in 4, and Danny Freund loves to mix it up with guys of different skill sets. You see Elijah Klein, an in-state kid at 6'7", a big guy that might grow into a tight end. And then some smaller, speedier receivers. Jack Wright, who set the national touchdown record in terms of high school receiving scores, 112 touchdowns playing 8-man football down in Oklahoma. Bo Belquist, another in-state kid playing 9-man football out of New Rockford, Cheyenne. That's a really enticing athlete. And Marcus Preston, a Kansas kid that is going to continue to grow and blossom, an older brother that's playing football for the Jayhawks. They like him a lot as well. Up front, this is maybe the biggest emphasis on the offensive side of the football. UND bringing in 6 offensive linemen, guys that can project inside and outside. Bennett Weber out of Minnesota, Andrew Fenton from Wisconsin, and then Peyton Lotos, a local kid from Grand Forks whose dad played at UND. A lot of local ties in that group as well. Those guys are big and physical, and they project all these guys, all 6 of them, to have a great chance to play as they develop. Jack Kuntz, another local kid from Devils Lake coming on, Easton Kilty from Wisconsin, and then Jagger Furden, who was a Western Illinois commit that flipped a little bit late, much like Luke Skokna last year, taking the switch from the Leathernecks to the Fighting Hawks. Some really good players that are making the trip up to Grand Forks in the trenches for UND coming up this season. On the defensive side of the football, only 1 defensive lineman in this class, but he's an awfully good one. Craig Orlando, who played 9-man football from Verndale, a big physical nose tackle who played running back this year for a pretty good Verndale high school club. He's coming in, a 2-time state champion wrestler, to shore up the interior on the defensive line. Dylan Boker, Quinn Erweiler. Quinn, by the way, the only outside linebacker in this group, but one of 5 linebackers that have been taken in terms of freshmen. Wyatt, we saw, by the way, a moment ago, Max Gunderson, who projects to be on the offensive side of the football, a quarterback at Detroit Lakes, but can kind of do a little bit of everything. Might be a pass catcher for this UND team in the future. Defensively as well, Wyatt Pedigo had unbelievable numbers from small school in Kansas. Big get for them running the football, but they project him to be an inside linebacker. Kason Kelly, a really good one from Millard North in the Omaha area. And then defensively, Sam Robertson and Payton Fischer, 2 secondary guys to help fill in a position group that is got a ton of talent coming back. Robertson projects to be a cornerback, Fischer more of a safety from Fargo North. And then it wasn't just freshmen in this class, but a couple of transfers. St. Cloud State, of course, unfortunately ending their program, and the football team no longer, of course, with the Huskies or with Crookston as well. UND doing a nice job of connecting with a couple of players looking for a place to play and finish out their academic careers. Devin, and you look at that last name and you think, how do you say that? Charnowski is how you say Devin's name. He was an all-conference linebacker for the Huskies. He'll come in and vie for time as an inside spot. And then Adam Stage, who is a 3-time all-conference kicker, also joining the UND program with 1 year of eligibility left. That is the list for now. Again, a list that might continue to grow over the next couple of hours, and of course will continue to grow in February. The man leading the charge, of course, now in year 7 of this program, Bubba Schweigert joining us. Bubba, first of all, congratulations on a great class. You got to be feeling great about the group you're bringing into Grand Forks this year.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. And I just really want to point out that the staff does the bulk of the work at getting these guys going out and identifying early our needs and those young men that fit our needs, and then it takes a lot of effort. You know, spring recruiting last year is when this starts. We had a lot of these young men on campus, got them to our camp in the summertime, and then the follow-up and convincing them that this is a great spot and a great fit for them. So our staff did an awesome job this year.
Yeah, all about those relationships. And as you said, that process starts pretty early. Now this is year 3 of signing early, this early December signing period. And it's a period that you like. You've enjoyed this change the NCAA has made a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, I do. I think it's fair. There's enough time to build relationships, as you pointed out. And it creates a sense of urgency in the young men and their families to make a decision. There was no need to drag it out to February. Now, we still always have some of those February signings, but the bulk of the guys are ready to make a decision, get committed, put it on the dotted line, and then go on with the rest of their senior year. And I just really have liked this early signing date, and I think we're one of the programs that would keep supporting it.
Yeah, and so you've certainly done that with the types of classes you've brought in. Again, 25 young men joining the program now early. This year's signing day a little bit different for you because you were a playoff team this year, and that kind of cuts maybe a week of the emphasis of just on recruiting short. How did that change how you approach this signing day, Bubba, if at all?
A little less time on the road, and obviously we wanted to move on in the playoffs, but I think, you know, we had planned a contingency plan for moving on and playing and how we were going to get guys in to visit. But a lot of this is done early. You know, some of these young men that committed to us had been on our campus 3, maybe 4 times. The guys from a little bit farther away, not as many times, but most of them had been up here for unofficial visits. So we felt like we knew them well. And last weekend, we did have an official visit weekend where we had most of our commitments here. Others that had conflicts couldn't make it. But for the most part, we got them all up here. We had a few that were in the balance that came, the transfers from St. Cloud. You know, this happened fast, and we wanted to get them on our campus. And we're really happy to have those 2 young men join us. We think they're really good fits and can help our 2020 team.
You see the footage here now of Devin Charnowski, and you talk about that switch. It's never something you want to see for a local program lose football like this. But you obviously said you had to move quick to try and identify some players who can help you, and Devin, along with the kicker Adam Sage, are guys you think you can come in and make a difference right away.
Yeah, we sure do, and we had close ties to their program, knowing their head coach, Scott Underwood, who worked here at one time, and Mark Sipple, the defense coordinator, and Coach Mussman and those guys, so we could really find out about the character of these individuals and felt they were good fits. And just looking at how they produced on the field, we think they can really help our football team. You know, we were going to get a transfer linebacker, and that was what we were looking for, and this happened in a hurry, and we felt Devin was a good fit, and on his visit, he agreed. And
it's always nice.
And, you know, we feel like we can challenge our current kickers and create some more competition by bringing Adam in. The young man had 26 touchbacks this past season, so he's got a very strong leg, and we're always looking to get better at each and every position and create competition within our team.
Yeah, certainly these 2 young men will do that. And you talk about competition. As a team as a whole, you're going to be embracing a new competition next season in a different conference. No more independent status. You're officially a Missouri Valley football team now. How did that change the recruiting philosophy, knowing you're going into maybe a little more physical conference in the Valley next year?
Well, I don't know if it really changed our philosophy. I just think our recruiting footprint matches where we play. We made a decision 6 years ago to recruit in the Midwest. We think those are the best fits for our program. Now, we're going to get our heart and soul from within 5 hours, and then we know we have to reach out to other areas to recruit a competitive team. And we're very excited about going in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. I think it's had a positive effect on our signing classes since we were admitted to the league, and we know it's a very physical, tough football league, and we always wanted to be a physical, tough football team. So it's helped us because we're back home where we should be playing, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, you mentioned that footprint you said a moment ago. That map really shows it. It's Missouri Valley areas. North Dakota also, of course, always a big emphasis for this team. A group of guys coming in, 5, maybe 6, maybe 7 from North Dakota joining this program. How important is it to win the state, as I think you guys have done this season?
Well, I think it's really important. You know, we want to get the best players out of our state. We're the flagship institution, and anybody that we feel has an opportunity to play Division I football and can develop, we're going to try to give that opportunity right here at the University of North Dakota. So we put a lot of emphasis in recruiting our home state, and we think it's the right thing to do, and we really feel like it's going to pay dividends in our future.
Yeah, 25 signees, at least at the moment in this class. Bubba, as you mentioned, February is coming. You might pick up a couple more to help fill out the ranks. What are some areas where you would like to address when you get to that second signing phase coming up?
Well, we still would look at linebacker position. You know, we can always keep improving there, and defensive back is one area where we think we need to add 1 or maybe 2 individuals. And then, you know, there's always this thing we call best available. You know, we can find some guy that will improve our football team immediately as a transfer or drop down. We would take a good hard look at that, and we're happy with our current roster, but we always feel like we can keep improving it, and that's how we're going to get to be a better and better program as we look into the future and in the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
Yeah, that's been what you've done over the last couple of years, now going into year 7, Bubba. Well, congratulations again on a great class. Best of luck finishing things up with this particular group, and good luck moving forward as you go into the offseason.
All right, thank you, Alex.
Bubba Schweigert. Coming up after the break on the UND Football Signing Day Special, defensive coordinator Eric Schmidt will join us in studio. That's coming up next here on MidcoSN. Another live look at team headquarters here on National Signing Day 2020. The UND coaching staff, along with compliance and sports information, hanging out here in our MidcoSN studios. That group has been busy certainly since the early morning hours, and they've been happy with how things have gone certainly so far today. A really impressive class in this early signing period for UND football. We are joined now by the defensive coordinator for University of North Dakota football, Eric Schmidt. Again, another great defensive class. We're going to talk about some of those position groups in a moment. For you and this team, Eric, getting back to the playoffs this year, again, we always talk about how UND is a defensive team. That's always been the mindset. Felt like you guys got back to being that team after a tough season the year before.
Yeah, obviously that's the goal going in when you look at our schedule in the summer and things like that. To be able to have an opportunity to get to the tournament, I think obviously anything can happen there. And I think our guys still have a lot of hunger yet. I mean, there's a standard now, I think, that's been built, especially feel really good about our seniors, just the leadership that they brought to our team this fall. They did a great job, and now I think that can rub off onto some of our younger players. And guys come here, and we feel like we have the resources and the machinery in place to make a run at it year in and year out. And that consistency now is something that we're really going to talk about a lot in our program and strive to create year in and year out, that we're in the conversation.
Yeah, it feels like that's been the word always this team, just being consistent, week in, week out. And it feels like the guys you're bringing in to this program to kind of help boost it, that's going to be one of the words I'm sure you're going to be preaching to these guys as you look. Not a big class on the defensive side of the football, but you're really focused in on a couple of position groups, specifically linebacker. Yeah,
I mean, if you look at our classes, we took 7 defensive linemen a year ago. That was a huge emphasis for us, and we knew coming into the class this year that linebacker was going to be important. We lost 2 guys that were really good players for us. Donnell Rogers had an All-American type year, and Ty Verde behind him was really steady too as well. So to be able to go out and get some of these guys, I think was important for us. Guys like Wyatt Pedigo, Case Kelly, even Devin here late. Sharnowski was a huge get for us. So that's something that was really important to us, especially at the inside spot. And then to be able to find a guy like Quinn on the outside and Dylan Bolker, those guys are some guys got some length. Some other guys really, I think, run like DBs back there too as well, and that's something that we always put a lot of stock into is how much ground can those guys cover, especially in the leagues that we play in. You have to be a dynamic guy and be able to do a lot of things. So really like the toughness of those guys. I think one thing, our staff takes a lot of pride in their areas and making sure that they recruit those areas really well. And all those guys at camps I thought were really competitive guys. They're guys that, you get to, a guy like Wyatt Pedigo, he's from a small town in Kansas, but you get him on a setting like at the University of Wisconsin or, even at the University of North Dakota, and he's at the front of the line. He's competing. Those guys are calling out other running backs and things like that. And I think that stuff goes a long way into what we're looking for. They check the boxes of being competitive guys. I mean, they're tough. That was the other thing too. To get some guys here that wrestle and really play the game violently. I think that's the biggest thing for us, is just to continue working on finding those guys that have that competitive spirit, that mindset, and hopefully that translates into more physical players, better tacklers, things like that. But I thought these guys were really good at camps. When you get them against the best from the upper Midwest, they really performed well and came with a purpose to our camp and other camps we saw them at, and really competed hard.
Yeah, you love those multi-sport athletes, and that's kind of the group that you've been able to bring in and develop over the years. Feels like this group, though, a lot of these guys were standout linebackers in high school. Not necessarily, some were great on both sides of the football, right, but these guys have played this position before and have maybe a little more of that pedigree than some of the guys we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think one thing that you'll see, how we've recruited linebacker here in the past, those guys, especially the guys I think that have played on the offensive side, obviously it means something to their high school coach. They give them a ball, they trust them with the ball. We want guys with ball skills on defense, but those guys, a lot of times our best linebackers are guys that maybe just aren't special enough on the offensive side to play running back, and those guys come in and really become good players for us. I mean, Donnell was that way. He hardly played much linebacker in high school, much running back in high school, and came out to be, a really, really good linebacker. So those multi-sport guys, I don't think that's ever going to change for us. I mean, we love to be able to recruit the wrestling mat, recruit the the track and field stuff, recruit the basketball court. I mean, all that stuff. I think the more evaluations you can get on guys, the less mistakes you make. So that's always been a huge emphasis for us, and we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, speaking of the wrestling mat, the one guy you brought in up front, Craig Orlando, is a state champ in Minnesota in the heavyweight class. He's a big physical kid who also was a running back in high school. Talk about that young man, what he brings to the table.
Yeah, just just scratching the surface with Craig. I mean, he has no idea how good he can be. We're really excited. He really fits all the traits that we look for in a nose guard. I mean, he can really move his feet for a big guy. He's super athletic. Like you don't call a guy, that's 6'2", 265 pounds, really springy at times, but the guy can get off the ground. I mean, he can do a lot of things athletically that guys his size can't. I really like his demeanor too. He's a no nonsense. He's a tough kid. I mean, all the things that go into recruiting nowadays with logos and all the splash stuff, that stuff means nothing to him. He wants to go to a place where he can earn a degree and get developed at the highest level. So I think, he's going to bring some toughness to our team. He'll bring some athleticism to the nose guard spot. He'll fit in really good with the guys we have here now. So we're excited about him. I mean, he's a two-time state champ now, I think, in the state of Minnesota. He's been I went to a few of his wrestling matches. Yeah, he's one of those kids that you sit around for, till the heavyweights come around, and then you get to watch him for about a half a minute when he goes out and pins some guys. So he's a guy that we were targeted early. Really we're fortunate. We felt like that he kind of fell through the cracks, I think, with a few of the bigger programs in the Big Tens and things like that, and we're really excited to get him. He fits a lot of the things that we like at the nose guard spot.
Craig, the lone D lineman coming in this particular class. Just 2 members of the secondary as well. That was another emphasis last year. Didn't take as many corners or safeties this time, but you got 2 good ones, one local kid from Fargo North and one from the Twin Cities.
Yep, like you said, I think that was last year. We really hit on the DB world and up front and the D line. I think things, this second signing period, a lot of times will go best available, and last year that ended up being DB a lot of times in the month of January. But Sam Robertson's a state champ. He's a guy, once again, at camps. We watched him at numerous camps. At each camp we watched, we felt like, hey, he got better and better and better. A guy he's not going to back down from any guys. He's going to go try to seek out the best competition and get after those guys. He had a great year, at Wayzata. They had a great team, obviously, this year to win the whole thing in the highest class in Minnesota. You're playing against good people week in and week out, and I thought, Sam did a great job there. And then Payton Fischer is just he's another, a kid from North Dakota that, he has the right demeanor, the right makeup. Once again, I think, he just comes to work every day. He's a consistent kid. Coach's kid. His dad's the swim coach there at Fargo North. His mom coaches at West Fargo swimming too as well, and he's a good swimmer too as well. So another multi-sport type kid. But we really feel good about Peyton. He did a great job at our camp. He's done a great job at our camp the last couple of years, even not only in the individual setting, but in our 7-on-7 stuff too as well. He's stood out. So he's a guy that can come in here, smart kid, tough once again, and he'll have a great career at North Dakota.
Yeah, it's exciting to see those local kids sticking around, kids from around the region that are all going to make a difference here in this program. Eric, congratulations on another strong class. Keep moving forward.
Thanks, Alex.
Eric Schmidt. Well, Eric is a North Dakota native, just like his head coach, and just like 5 of UND's commits in today's early signing period. For more on that group, here now is MidcoSN's North Dakota high school expert, Jody Norsted.
Alex, there is plenty to be excited about when you're talking about the 2020 in-state recruiting class for the University of North Dakota. You have a 6'7" Class 3A receiver that broke school records and was constantly drawing double coverage. You have arguably the 2 best 9-man players in the state, and then you have a son of a former UND All-American and NFL player. Let's take a look at these future Fighting Hawks. The first to commit was Elijah Klein from Mandan. He was a big get, and I mean big get, at 6 feet 7 inches and 215 pounds. As a sophomore, he was probably a better basketball player than football player, and I assumed he'd be leaning that direction for college, but he bulked up the ensuing offseason and became an absolute nightmare in the WDA. He broke school records his junior season by hauling in 43 catches for a whopping 1,142 yards and 10 touchdowns. He followed that up with 40 more catches this fall for 725 yards and 12 more scores. The 2-time first-team All-State selection will likely be used as a tight end wide receiver hybrid in Grand Forks. Now, the fact that the Fighting Hawks made a concerted effort to try to nail down his commitment early makes me think he can make an impact sooner rather than later. About a week after Klein committed, UND landed a legacy recruit in 6'3", 265-pound Red River lineman Peyton Lotos, the son of former UND All-American Greg Lotos. Lotos earned first-team All-State honors after helping the Rough Riders top 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards passing for the year. He does a great job with the fundamentals and has the strength to run defenders into the ground. He's battled shoulder injuries throughout his varsity career, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do if he can stay healthy at the next level. Fargo North's Payton Fischer is heading to Grand Forks in the fall after becoming somewhat of a utility knife for the Spartans this past fall. Injuries forced head coach Adam Rowland to move Fischer from running back to quarterback to start the year. He eventually returned to his running back spot where he finished with nearly 500 rushing yards and a touchdown. Now, Fischer's strength is on the defensive side of the ball, where he was named first-team All-State as a junior and senior. He started 3 seasons for the Spartans, finishing with 128 career tackles from his safety position. Fischer's talent and character make him a good fit at North Dakota. At 6'6", 295 pounds, Jack Kuntz is an intriguing prospect for Bubba Schweigert's team. Kuntz just wrapped up his senior season at Devil's Lake by being named first-team All-State. He was the biggest guy on the field almost every Friday night, and he typically had his way with whoever was lining up across from him. You know he has to be excited about getting the opportunity to play for a team just an hour and a half away from home. The Fighting Hawks also nabbed the Senior Athlete of the Year from 9-man in New Rockford Cheyenne's Bo Belquist. This 6-foot, 175-pound receiver and safety can do it all. As a junior, he put up 1,400 yards of offense and 27 touchdowns. Pretty good, right? Well, as a senior, he nearly hit 1,000 yards receiving and added 700 yards on the ground while scoring a total of 32 touchdowns for the Rockets. He also intercepted 7 passes on defense. Belquist is a 3-time All-State selection and has been the primary weapon for an offense that has averaged over 50 points per game each of the last 2 seasons. Every opponent knew he was getting the ball, and they still couldn't stop him. He's a huge gift for North Dakota and could put up some really nice numbers before his career in Kelly Green is complete. That's a look at the 6-pack of in-state signees for UND. Alex, back to you.
Hey, thanks so much, Jody. Always great coverage of our North Dakota preps. Now, tied with North Dakota as the state with the most high school signees in this class is Minnesota. With thoughts on the 5 Minnesota products coming to Grand Forks in the fall, here's Jim Paulsen of the Minneapolis Star Tribune.
Linemen from Ferndale. He's a 2-time state wrestling champion. So he knows leverage. He knows how to use his hands, and he knows how to have success in tight quarters. He's also very athletic. This year he played fullback in the Minnesota Vikings All-State selection. He'll get a whole lot from the 9-man, so that's a kid that you got to keep an eye on. I think Craig Orlando, will sure have success at UND level. St. Robertson.
Good stuff from a longtime friend of our signing day special, Jim Paulsen. Time now for a break, but when we come back, we'll be joined by UND offensive coordinator Danny Freund. That's coming up next on the 2020 UND football signing day special. Team headquarters still rocking and rolling here in Grand Forks. UND football signing day special 2020 continues. Been a happy group of coaches. They put a lot of effort into this, a process that starts years in advance of building relationships with these young men. Today's a big day for a lot of people in that room and across the upper Midwest making their commitments to UND football. One of the men, of course, that have been a part of this charge now for going on 10 seasons, Danny Freund, offensive coordinator of UND football. Congrats on a great class, first and foremost. How are you feeling right now that guys have gotten their name on the ink and some of that pressure is off a little bit?
Yeah, it's always a special day. We're excited for the class and their families, and it's such a long, process. You start getting on these kids over a year ago, and you kind of get to know them, and it's a special day. It kind of culminates everything, and we're excited to work with these guys and get them up to campus.
Yeah, for you personally, this now your second class as the offensive coordinator. I do want to ask you, how was year one, calling the plays and running this offense?
It was exciting. We had a lot of fun, and you kind of learn on the job a little bit, but took a lot of steps, and I think we grew as a team throughout the season, and there's a lot of work left to be done. Had some good moments there, and we're able to kind of get in the playoffs and have some special moments during the season, but a lot to look forward to here this spring and on into the next fall.
Yeah, we had talked a couple days ago just about this class and who you would really looked at addressing when you look at the numbers. There's a big offensive class. You brought in a lot of guys. Offensive line, though, was really where you wanted to focus on, and it looks like you were pretty successful in that, bringing in 6 guys in this group.
Yeah, everything starts up front. 5-year offensive starters are in that unit, and we're trying to build and create a culture in that room, and Coach Pavlik's done an awesome job, and I think this class is going to be kind of a cornerstone of this 2020 class, this offensive line group. We're excited about the 6 we're bringing in here, and we think they bring a lot to the table. A lot of them are multi-sport athletes. We've been able to evaluate them at camps, got them up to campus early. Just excited about what they bring to the table. Very versatile group, and I think they'll kind of bring that toughness and that leadership into that room.
Yeah. What's unique, I think, you bring in 6 offensive linemen this year, even though you've got 4 returning starters back on that front. But when you always have to project in the future for that particular position, especially.
Yeah, I think offensive line is one of the most developmental positions on a football team, and these guys come in with a lot of talent and a lot of ability. But I think it takes some time to adjust to the college game. And I think bringing back 4 out of our 5 from last year is exciting, but you always want to build depth in that room. And some of these guys, they're going to have to be ready to create that depth for us next year. We're excited about all of them, but I know they're a group that'll come in ready to work, and they have the right demeanor and right attitude.
Yeah, it's a group of young men that will be protecting a quarterback that you brought in this class. Maybe not the only one, but right now, Reed Neal from Indiana, the guy that you're bringing in, and he's going to compete pretty much right away for a spot because that room is changing with the graduation of 2 seniors that have played a lot of football for you.
Yeah, it's the most important position for us, and I think getting Reed signed is key. He's a guy that'll come in right away and compete with Tommy and some of the other guys in the room, but we really liked his athleticism, he's a natural thrower of the football, and he's a guy that we got on here his senior year. We're able to evaluate his senior film and kind of get down there in person and see him throw the ball around, but I think he's a kid that has great leadership skills. The athleticism's there to be able to extend plays with his feet and kind of, create when things go off script. But we're excited to get him here, and it's important that he gets here and we get him working here next semester and develop him.
Yeah, a dual threat guy that can really make a difference potentially early on in his UND career. He's going to be slinging the football to a couple of different guys, 4 receivers in this class. We always talk about that. You look at different sizes, different types of receivers. That's the case again in this group from 2020.
Yeah, we feel really good about the wide receivers we're bringing in, and we lose 2 really productive and key players in Travis and Noah. But especially with the guys in state, starting with Elijah Klein, just his frame and athleticism, we're excited to develop him. And Bo Belquist, another guy that plays 9-man football, has been really productive. His dad's the coach there, and you watch him play basketball and you watch him play all these other sports. He's very, very impressive and did a great job at our camp. Marcus Preston's another one that came to our camp. I think his best football is ahead of him in terms of upside and potential. And the other one, would be Jack Wright, one of the most productive players in, I guess high school football history. I guess you read all this stuff. But another one we saw at camps this summer, competed really well, tested really well, and just I think it's a group that'll come in with something to prove. I think it's a group that has different skill sets that you can use, and guys that are going to have to, like we talked about on the offensive line, create some instant depth for us, in 2020.
Yeah, it's a group of guys who maybe could be fighting for playing time. Obviously, the freshman 4 rule helps a lot to get a chance to look at these kids and get their feet wet. Same thing in the running back room as well, as you bring in Peyton Mitchell and Isaiah Smith, 2 different types of backs that are going to add to a stable that is pretty talented.
Yeah, Creighton's a guy we had at camp this summer, did an awesome job, and Isaiah's the same thing. And they're different body types, which helps, different skill sets. I think they both catch the ball really well out of the backfield, can return kicks for us, but just adding depth to that room and being able to use those guys in different ways, it's really exciting. I think Isaiah's maybe a guy that was a little bit under the radar and then had an injury his senior year, and Creighton's a guy we kind of fought for until the end. He committed this summer, but was getting some late interest from some, Big 10, Big 12 programs. So excited to get those guys signed. Coach Agnew will do a great job developing them, and that room, especially next year, is going to have to be a room that we lean on, and those guys will provide great depth for us as well.
Yeah, as you look ahead now to 2020 and year 2 for you calling this offense, there are some talented guys back. We mentioned 4 or 5 starters on the offensive line, playmakers like Garrett Mogg, Cam McKinney, Luke Skokin, the guys that we've seen establish themselves as good FCS players. But there also are some question marks, certainly at quarterback. When you look at the importance now of this spring, it's got to be a huge spring for you guys moving forward to get ready for 2020.
Those 15 practices this spring are incredibly important, and it starts in January when we get back and get into the weight room, just creating the right type of attitude and type of urgency that we need to have to take this program to the next step. But yeah, definitely, all jobs are open. I think it's going to be a competitive spring. Quarterback's the main one, especially. But you look at all the positions, we want guys that are fighting, competing for playing time, and we've got to develop some guys this spring and create our own identity for who we want to be in 2020. That's obviously going to be a little bit different of who we were last year, just depending on personnel. But our staff will do a great job when we get to work, and it's definitely exciting. You got a lot of key pieces coming back from the 2019 team, but I think each year is different, and it's exciting to sign these guys and kind of put them on the depth chart, and then look at the guys you got coming back, and we'll be ready to get to work here in January.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. That balance between the unknown and the things that you do know that are in the locker already. Well, hey, Danny, congratulations again on a great class.
Thank you.
Best of luck getting them ready to go.
Appreciate it.
Danny Freund. Well, as Danny knows, as we talked about, quarterback is the position that typically draws the most attention on days like this. And with Indiana's Reed Neal set to join the program, we reached out to Jordan Guskey of the Muncie Star Press to provide a little more insight on UND's newest signal caller.
He's definitely a mobile guy. He's got a good arm for sure, but I think one thing that makes him a pretty dangerous player is his ability to be mobile when he's in the pocket and when he has to get out of the pocket. There were times this season where Yorktown's offensive line maybe broke down at points. He was definitely still able to evade a lot of those sacks. I think take whatever his sack number was and you maybe double it if he wasn't as mobile a quarterback as he was. That's how much his legs were able to help him this season, but also, still able to throw for as many yards as he did, run for as many yards as he did, and help this Yorktown team accomplish what it did this season. Less than 2 weeks before the Guerin Catholic sectional game, he had his appendix removed, and obviously that's not a simple procedure. Having that done, and then to also come back so quickly, he did all he could to get back as quickly as possible and helped his team, and it didn't surprise any of his teammates or coaches that he did that. They knew that if he was cleared, he was going to do it. It still definitely hurt for him every time he got hit, but he was going to be in there for his teammates, and I think that shows the kind of guy that Reed Neal is. I think there were people who thought eventually he might get some sort of FBS opportunity, but he didn't get any, FBS offers for scholarships. I think people were maybe a little bit surprised with his size and ability. I think if he built up some strength there and put some weight on, I think maybe FBS was a possibility. But based upon what people were telling me, I think FCS is a good place for him and somewhere where he can really thrive as long as he keeps improving.
Big thanks to Jordan Guskey for the time. Well, when UND Football Signing Day special continues, we're going to look ahead at what's to expect in 2020 for the Fighting Hawks with Tom Miller of the Grand Forks Herald. Tommy, coming up next. Stay tuned. Another check of University of North Dakota football team headquarters this morning. The coffee flowing freely. A lot of these guys are here at about 6:30 a.m. Big day for that group that have put in a lot of time to ensure this 2020 signing class keeps this program moving forward. One of the men, of course, that has the pleasure of covering this team is Tom Miller of the Grand Forks Herald, signing up for another year of great UND coverage. Tom, you've had a chance to follow this group, and you've been following them pretty closely, really, since a lot of these young men have verbally committed to the program. What's your first impression of the class of 2020 for this UND football team?
Yeah, I think it's a nice mix between some of the traditional recruiting ground and some of the non-traditional recruiting ground. You know, you have some in-state kids, Belquist in New Rockford, Klein and Mandan, and Lotos at Red River there. But also you get into some areas like a Jack Wright out of 8-man football in Oklahoma, or a small school kid in Kansas with Wyatt Pedigo. So interesting mix of some areas they're usually in, and then like Oklahoma, for example, kind of some new ground.
Yeah, nice to see the group spread out a little bit. When you look at the list of commits, who stands out to you as a guy or two that can maybe make an impact right away in 2020?
Well, with the loss of Wanzik and Toivonen, a wide receiver, you're going to look at any of those wide receiver commits. You know, whether it's Bo Belquist or Marcus Preston. Jack Wright, I think, is probably the most intriguing to me with 100+ touchdown catches. I know he played 8-man football.
Still a lot of touchdowns. Heck of a lot of production.
That's a lot of production, absolutely. And I think wide receiver is a position where you see it more often be done to play early in their careers, because it's so difficult along the physical spots on the line and at linebacker to play early in your career. So, you know, any of those wide receivers are good candidates to play right away. And same for a guy like Creighton Mitchell at running back out of West Des Moines Valley. Has a lot of long runs on film. Could be one of those kids kind of similar in that Luke Skokna mold that could take advantage of Danny Freund's kind of offense, where he wants to use those guys in the passing game and get them in space.
Yeah, they have done a great job of identifying smaller backs that have speed and skill and versatility. Think of a guy like John Santiago, Creighton Mitchell kind of in that mold. When you think about 2020 now, and we've put the book closed on 2019, what are some of the storylines that are going to stand out to you as we go into this new season?
Yeah, I think, you know, how you revamp the passing game. You know, I think Nate Ketteringham was a senior quarterback. Even his backup at times was Andrew Zimmerman, a senior. And then you have on both sides a Travis Toivonen and a Noah Wanzik. You know, that's kind of the heart and soul of your offense. That's kind of the, you know, your bread and butter. Even when a freshman like Tommy Schuster comes in against Sam Houston State, he can kind of lean on those guys like a Wanzik and a Toivonen to make plays. So how that looks moving forward.
These are your picks, by the way. This is Tom Miller's projected starters. This is who you think is going to be lining up come day one.
And I've got a few curveballs in there just for fun. But a Garrett Mogg is a guy who needs to really step up into that Toivonen and Wanzik mold and become a reliable guy. And then, you know, you never know what Brock Boltman could present to the offense. And those are the things I'm really looking at, is how does this offense look with kind of a completely revamped passing attack.
Yeah, and then similarly defensively, you know, 8 starters back. It's a group that has a little more familiarity to it, but inside linebacker is really where they're going to have to figure some things out with the loss of Donnell Rogers and Tyron Frede.
Absolutely. You know, Noah Larson is the lock there at inside linebacker, but Donnell Rogers and Frede leaving, like you said, will make that other inside backer spot a very competitive spot. Caden White I have listed there. Could be any number of guys. You know, the St. Cloud State transfer at inside backer. I'll let you say his name. Devin Charnosky.
So you got that. Boom.
All right.
We prepped him before this.
I think that's a very competitive spot for a starter next year.
Yeah, it will be fun to see how this group of guys handles a Valley schedule that's coming up. They certainly did pretty well with one of the toughest schedules in the country this past season. Tom, appreciate the time, buddy.
Absolutely.
Enjoy following this team moving forward.
Thanks.
Tom Miller. Hey, well, that'll do it for this year's UND Signing Day special. Big thanks to the UND coaching staff for posting up here all morning. We do want to mention, by the way, it's a busy spring that's coming up. We want to show you quickly what's happening with this UND football team. Spring ball's just around the corner. We're really not that far away from getting things going. Spring football will get started on the 28th of February. Not really spring, but Bubba loves to start that as early as possible. The UND Spring Scrimmage coming up on April the 10th. And then before you know it, the summer's going to go by. Players will report for camp on August the 2nd. And then September the 3rd, UND taking on Valpo on a Thursday night at the Alara Center to kick off the 2020 campaign. Once again, that's going to do it for us here. Big thanks again to the coaches for being here all day. And a special day for them and a special day for all of the young men who signed their letter of intent today. Special thanks to all of our MidcoSN staff as well. Marty Mueller, Jeremy Klein, Mike Derman, Jack Nyson, Jake Tracy, Rod Schroyer, Quentin Coulter, Corey Wilson, Justin Waters, a team that makes this show possible. I'm Alex Heinert saying thank you for watching. Congrats again to all the new members of the Fighting Hawk football family.